I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. Got a lot of good fishing happening right now, and we've got some pretty decent weather in the forecast. All day Saturday, it's going to be great weather everywhere. Sunday, got a little bit of weather up around the northern Channel Islands, Nick, and outside of Clementi. Some up north, I checked the weather before heading out. The stuff outside of Clementi is probably fishable for the smaller boats looking to fish tuna and things like that. But let's go to the map and take a look at what's happening. All right, starting up at the Channel Islands. It's kind of gone back to rockfish mode up there. That's what most of the guys are fishing anyway. And they're doing pretty good on getting some quality rockfish up that way. I know the boats out of Santa Barbara landing are definitely running to Rosa or the on their full day trips and having good rock fishing. I haven't heard a lot about the boats that have Ventura that much. They're just kind of fishing Santa Cruz Island, catching rockfish and a few bass, stuff like that. No big shakes. We got the full moon coming up on Monday, so maybe the sea bass will pop over the weekend. I don't know. Maybe some squid will show up. But with the weather up there this weekend, I don't know that any boats could be fishing that part of Rosa on Sunday anyway, where they might get it. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So, like I said, nothing too exciting to report up there. I'm going to talk about Nick and Santa Barbara Island here. I haven't been in a while because nobody's really been looking at that, but I know that the El Dorado out of Berth 55 is going to start running their Nick trips again, I think. It's getting to be that time of year. And Santa Barbara Island at this time of year, you always have a shot at yellow and good rock fishing. So that might be something worth looking at on Saturday if you're looking to go get some rockfish, stuff like that. There's still some tune up that way. My buddy Jonathan was out Saturday or Sunday of the weekend, and they saw some bluefin up that way, but they didn't catch any because they didn't want to eat a topwater lure. But yeah, you've got a shot at bluefin up there, you got a shot at marlin, you got a shot at rockfish, and a shot at yellowtail. And it being Santa Barbara Island, you also have a shot at catching absolutely nothing. So keep that in mind. As I mentioned, that whole bluefin zone up that way kind of dried up a bit. Jonathan did find some yellowfin off the west end of Cat on dolphin. Sorry about that. And they got a couple, I think they went 2 for 3 on poppers. They were nice grade fish, and nice to see them up biting a surface lure. So if you're looking around that area up there, you might keep an eye out for dolphin. Heading out towards Clementi, still some good yellowtail fishing on the front side of the island. A lot of the boats are doing that and then fishing tuna at night or breaking a trip up like that. I know the Thunderbird has been doing that, and I think the Fury. But those fish are still there on the front. And there's also the calico bass fishing. It's pretty good. Had a couple buddies over there, James Little and Jay Jones, went over on the weekend, and they had some really nice calicos, good fishing. Looks like they had some nice weather too. The tuna that had been up above Cat and Clementi have kind of slid back into their more of a normal fall zone, which is behind the east end of the island. In previous years, those fish have kind of wandered around from there to the Tanner Banks and Cortez and Condom or whatever they call the one down below there. But that water out of Cortez has been cold all year, it seems like. So while there's still yellows out there, it seems like that bluefin's hanging a little bit closer to the island. You know, it's not hard to figure out where those guys are fishing. It's, everybody and their brothers out there, but they're getting their fish at night on jigs. They're catching fish during the day on sardines and trolling Mad Max, spreader bars, kites, you name it. There's, you know, fish from 30 pounds to 200 plus pounds out there, and the guys are doing pretty well on them. There's also some nicer yellowfin out that way. I know the Thunderbird had several fish up to 60 pounds on their last trip, and those boats have been pretty consistently getting bit out there. I'd imagine that's where most of the 4-pack guys are fishing, where you're seeing these big fish on social media, is out past Clementi. Where exactly they're going to be on any given day kind of varies, so you get out there and, you know, look at your temp chart and figure things out if you're heading out that way. Heading inside, there's still some Dorado and bluefin and yellowfin scattered around inside of Clementi and even inside of Cat and Marlin. But that's pretty hit and miss. I know some of the boats out of Dana Point got into some Dorado earlier this week, and pursuit had some bluefin late last week or over the weekend, but not really anything to hang your hat on. You know, you might run over something, or you might just drive around all day and not see a thing. So if you're looking at target tuna, I'd probably go somewhere, or Dorado, I'd go somewhere you have a higher percentage play, which is probably down south for private boaters. But Catalina's biting okay. Guys are getting yellows, bonita, bass, everything. Jimmy was over there today with the charter, but it's 4:30 on Wednesday afternoon. I think he took a nap before calling me and telling me how it was. So I'd guess he probably good fishing over there. I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't be. We have that full moon coming up on Monday, though, so that's going to have definitely an effect on the inshore fishing. So keep that in mind if you got this weekend. There's been some bass biting at PV. Not a crazy good bite, but there's been fish caught up there pretty consistently. I might go up there tomorrow afternoon if I have time. There's some sand bass and stuff biting on deeper stones out of Long Beach. I guess, according to Fish Though, there's quite a bit of red tide along the coast down south of Long Beach. So if you're going to fish the beach, I'd try and maybe look at your chlorophyll chart or whatever before heading out. I didn't get a chance to look at it before making this report. So typical stuff on the beach in here. You know, we're transitioning into fall, so it's going to be bass, rockfish, things like that. And a shot in an exotic is going to be more of a rare thing than it was, you know, even a few weeks ago when you had a pretty good shot of going out and finding some fish offshore here. I'm going to skip all the stuff on the coast down below there because it's just been red tide, like I said. But the boats out of San Diego are having some pretty good fishing. It doesn't sound like it's 100% consistent, but you know, they're getting some good scores. You know, you hear about some trips, boats getting, you know, on a lucky patty and catching a bunch of Dorado and a handful of yellowfin or bluefin, and other trips guys are getting easy limits of bluefin down there, and on the full day trips even. And I know the overnight and day and a half trips that aren't running up to fish bluefin are doing pretty well on yellowfin down south there. So, you know, if I was going on a private boat myself this weekend, I would probably head out of San Diego and take a look at those local banks, you know, from the above the Coronados down to, you know, that lower whatever bank it is down there. It's outside of Rosarito. You can probably find some fish scattered around somewhere out there. Dorado, yellowfin, bluefin, all that's down there, and biting pretty good sometimes, other times not so hot. But the later we get in the season here, the more, you know, the more isolated these spots you're going to get. So that, you know, a bunch of fish off Clementi will probably move around up there for a while, and hopefully this fish off of San Diego sticks around these local banks through the month. I mean, we've had yellowfin in late November in recent years down there, and I know the bluefin bite it all, I mean, throughout the winter. So hopefully, as long as we don't get big storms or anything, this stuff should stick around for a bit. But yeah, it's basically just standard fall fishing. Definitely not bad for the beginning of October, and we don't really have any weather coming our way for a while here, so we might get 2 or 3 more weeks of this before the next storm, and who knows what's going to happen. It might go even longer than that. So yeah, if you're heading out this weekend, I hope you have good luck.